I'd like to welcome you to the Trumbull Housing Authority special meeting of August 28th. This is a special meeting to discuss one item, which is the CNA for Stern Village, the Capital Needs Assessment Report. We have a guest. I'm sorry, I don't know your first name.
Matthew Chow.
Thank you, Matthew, and welcome. I'm glad you were able to make it here with us. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, then we can begin our meeting. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Barbara, if you do the roll call.
Kathy McGannon.
Here.
Laurel Anderson.
Here.
Sarah Fleeger.
Here.
Maureen is not coming and Charlene is not here yet.
All right, we do have a quorum. Hopefully Charlene will join us.
I'm wondering if she forgot about the CNA part and just was planning on 6 o'clock.
Well, I feel bad that I don't know where the packets went. Because I know I put all your names in. I know I did. Okay, so let's start. I don't know where to start. Laurel, help me.
So Matthew, thank you for providing us with this document. And I just to kind of fill you in, we use this document. We have a committee of sorts. We did it with the congregates CNA that you folks had done for us a couple of years ago. And so for us, it's not just a document and it gets put in a drawer. We actually meet on we're meeting monthly, right, Sarah, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're meeting monthly and we are reviewing it for the current year and literally going through each of the items. So as a tool at times for the congregate, we were having a little bit of a challenge identifying, like you guys would say, a window or a door, and it would be in a room, but we weren't sure which one. So I wonder if there is underlying detail that you used in creating the document that you might be able to share with us to help us kind of pinpoint some of what ended up as like a summary item. Some of it we kind of understand. You'll have this massive amount of money for electrical, and it looks like all the meters are going to need to be replaced in the 1972 units. But there are other things that maybe having some underlying information might be useful to us. And if not, if we could then at least call you or somebody and say, hey, we're stuck. Instead of us literally sending people over and looking around a room and scratching our heads and going, we're not sure. Because it is a daunting task, as you can imagine. And if we can try to make it easier based on what we went through the last time, that would be great. So I do have a couple of specific questions for you. I see that you did enumerate that Stern Village was built in 4 phases. So I wasn't even aware of that. So that was great to learn that. But I was a little concerned. I understood you were not going to be looking at all of the units, that you were looking at only 30%. So 30% of what? Because you have 4 buckets of, properties that were built between 3 years apart and 12 years apart. So, and if you don't have that information, I won't hold you to it. But if you get back to us and just let us know. So if you actually ID'd, if all of the 30% were the 1972 units, that would be good for us to know. If you literally split up that 30% between all 4 of those individual years of the construction, that would be good to know too. So if you know that, great. If you don't, if you could please get back to us. That would be good to know. Also, I see that you actually were only on site for one day.
Mhm.
So you were able to look at 30%, which is over 30 units. You were able to actually look at them in one day.
In detail?
It was a full day. I typically for sites where there's a lot of unit assessment, I get there a little earlier. I'm starting around 7:30 and lasting throughout the afternoon. And keep in mind with unit sampling, which is the bulk of the field time, once we get into, 6, 7 units, we kind of develop a feel of what we're going to expect with the other units. So it's not like we're spending 5, 10 minutes within each unit. We try to hit a unit of each type, a 1 bedroom, a 2 bedroom, a studio, a renovated unit, a non-renovated unit, get as much detail as we can within each of those units. And then once we go into a similar unit after that, we're really only looking for variations or differences or items that would change our projections in the tool. So, and the buildings themselves are pretty similar in design and construction throughout the campus. So yeah, it was a long full day of field work.
So there are 52 units frequently cited as obviously being well over their natural lives on a number of things. And I'm guessing from the age that those are all the 1972 units. So it just as a, kind of looking very quickly at it, it looked like in almost every case, the 1972 units needed 100% of them need whatever, new electrical, new bathrooms, new kitchens, new, you name it. And certainly in year one. So that, to me, that looked like the preponderance of what we're spending, which I think, Sarah, remind me, was it like 1.1 million, I think, total
Yeah.
in year one in 2024. Looked like those were almost all 1972 units. So do we even know, or were you able to ascertain how many of those units may have been remodeled either by our maintenance staff, or is it really that all of those 52 units that were built in 1972 have to have almost complete renovation?
I'd have to look into my notes in a little more detail to get a more concise answer for you on that. But from the unit sampling that we were provided, approximately 50% of the units, which is around 93 units, have undergone some form of either partial or full renovation work. And so we took the remaining 93 and assumed that, okay, these are units that need to undergo some form of renovation, whether it's a full gut rehab or just replacing tubs and cabinets, and sort of extrapolated that from our sampling into the near term of the plan. And it's difficult to say what unit's going to need exactly what unless we go into every single unit. And I was hoping that we would have had that from the renovation work that was carried out years prior, but it wasn't something that we could seem to find. That would really give you like a concrete plan on what exactly each unit needs. But because we didn't have that, we had to work off of the 30% of the units I went into to come up with this plan. And which is, 50% of the units need either partial or full renovation work.
Okay, so the 52 that's on a lot of your spreadsheets, the number of units, is really then just 1972, but you really don't know.
I have to look into that to see. Again, it's been a while since I've been up there. I don't know if all of my flagged non-renovated units were from 1972. I'd have to look into my notes to give you a good answer on that.
I'm just looking at they were the ones that were 52 years old, basically. And so if you do the math, those are 1972 units.
Yeah.
But then it kind of, as a working document for us, it doesn't help us really then to know if really all of the 1972 units need to be rehabbed, or if the 50% is actually, really the 1975 units or the 1980 units that never got in that rehab mix. So kind of as a tool, I'm not sure that's super helpful for us.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're looking to know exactly what units need to be renoed, you need to do a unit by unit matrix. You have to go into every single unit. You can't use this tool, which is based on an assumption of 30 units that we entered, to determine which exact units need renovation work. And I can look right now. So units 1 to 50, I believe, were from 1972, right?
Yep.
So let's look I look in my notes briefly right here. So I went into 7 units from phase 1. And some of those units appear to have been renovated. So this has been scattered. Just briefly looking through this right now throughout the 3 phases. Like
So we
unit
really
30
need,
unit 32 has new kitchen cabinets.
so we really need a detailed by unit.
Yeah, because it's scattered throughout. Unit 48 has new kitchen cabinets. It's undergone renovation work. It's got new doors, vinyl plank flooring. Same with unit 32.
Is that something that could be done somewhat by the maintenance guys? Don't they go in on a regular basis? Or Jackie even? Oh, you're muted, Jackie.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I was just gonna say that Paulette and I were discussing, because after looking after the CNA, that since we're already in units for inspections, well, myself and Renee, which is one of the maintenance men, we would go in there and highlight any unit that has been renovated, and then scale them on, how long the person has been there, if there are any repairs. So we're already undergoing the form that we've already created to make sure that we're in compliance with our inspections, to be updated, so that way we have a more detailed, like form that says that, and then we can transcribe it into an Excel form that can then be later shared with you all in November, because October is when our inspections happen.
And is that something that's consistent? Like, you have kitchen cabinets and you write how old they are, or if they're new.
No, it hasn't been in the past. We're more inspections looking to see wear and tear, any problems, any hoarding that happens, anything like that, apparent kind of issues. And then we also check smoke alarms, pull cords, make sure that those are all in compliance. However, what we could do now is then say, I can add I made the form up when I first came on board, and it can be added to say, has it been renovated? What was renovated, if anything, and then what's the condition it's in now, currently in 2024.
Good.
Yeah. Some back stuff we've already done.
That obviously would be really helpful.
Okay, so can I do a screen share? Bill, is that functional? Okay. If I may, Kathy, is that okay? Kathy, can I do a screen share?
Yes, sure. Sorry, I was
Thank
muted.
you. Okay. Are you all seeing this?
Yes.
Well, soon to see it. There you go. Can you see it?
Yep.
Can you make it bigger?
Maybe. or maybe not. View, let's see, view.
I'm old, Laurel.
Huh?
I can read it without my glasses.
Go to Zoom, left one.
That one,
Yeah.
200?
9,000.
Okay, there we go, 9,000, yes. Okay.
Okay,
Like,
I can see that now.
all right, I don't know that I can,
Show me what you want to show.
it doesn't like this, the macros or something, it's blocked, so it doesn't seem to like
Okay.
it. On
No,
my,
put it back. I could read it the other way.
okay. Okay, so this is one of the challenges that I'm kind of having with this report. Take a look at line 29. So the current age is 52. So those are all of the 1972 units. And according to this, it had a useful life of 30 years, so we're way behind the 8 ball with this. And I believe what this is saying is if we replaced all of the 52-year-old units, it would cost us $720,000. Am I right? Am I reading this right?
Correct.
Okay. So our problem is of those 50-something units, we don't really know how many of those need to be completely renovated. Right? So this report, while it's bringing the components to our attention, is not particularly valuable to us in terms of what our real expenditure needs to be on these units.
Yeah, so I wouldn't get fixated on the age and assume that that's just phase one. I may have grouped the other phases to the same age for just lack of confusion. And as you could see, I have limited row items on this Java spreadsheet. So I would have loved to have created a line item for each phase based on age to make it more clear. But this is telling you, if right up there, if you look in the cell 93 times 7750, 93 units will require bathtub replacement based on the unit sampling. It's not going to tell you exactly which units. Again, a unit matrix would be able to help you with that. But based on our sampling and for budgeting purposes and trying to come up with a guideline, this is really the best we could do with this spreadsheet.
Okay, so your universe then of apartments you're assuming need to be rehabbed is 93. And there are only 52, I guess, units that went up in 1972. So you're saying that this age is not, we shouldn't take that literally.
Yeah, it's reflective of all the tubs and surrounds.
Okay, and you came up with the 93 how?
That's based on the unit sampling. So we did 30% of the units, and 50% of those units from that sampling would require tub replacement.
I see. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna get out of there for a minute, and then the summary spreadsheet. Sarah and I were trying to review it, and we're a little lost. Let me see if I can bring that up. Okay, can you guys see the summary? $7,200,000 at the bottom.
Try and put that one up to 200.
200. Okay.
Adjust that corner.
Okay. How about that?
Yeah, scroll down just a little bit.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So, Matthew, it's your line 20, 21, 22, 23. Can you, we kind of get, oh, and I'm way over. I guess it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, it does, because there's that one big number on line 22.
Oh, right. Shoot, where am I? Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Now go back up a little bit.
Yeah,
There you go.
okay, okay. So grand total then on your line 20 is 1,068,894, right? So the total of all those other spreadsheets is $1 million. And we're reading that right, correct?
Sorry, I lost you on line 20.
Okay, not over here, line 20, this line 20.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Not, and under 2024.
Yep.
that one right there.
Yeah, that figure is the summation of all 2024 expenditures. for
Okay,
each of the
Okay.
components.
what's that one mean? The next one down?
That is your annual contribution amount that was provided, and it's been indexed at 3%.
So that assumes the state is going to pick up the rest?
That's your annual contribution amount. I'm not sure.
Where does that come from?
That was provided to me. So if you zoom out,
Okay,
zoom out a tad bit,
Operations. guys.
cell W3, 79050, that was the reported current annual contributions to the reserve account.
Is that correct, Jason?
Well, that's how much you contribute. You don't contribute to a reserve account per se, but you do contribute it to annual capital expenditures.
Okay.
Yes. So, okay, and actually you contribute a little bit more than that, but we wanted to be, conservative.
Okay, so then Matthew, what's the third line?
So the guidance we have is if you take out that 7675 right now,
Yeah,
delete that figure from F30. Can you do that, Laurel?
just take it out?
Yep.
Zero it?
Just delete it. Yep.
There you go. Okay,
So we have to come up with an infusion of capital that will positively fund this plan through year 20. And that's how we came up with the 7675000.
okay.
And that's the CHAFA guidance that we've received, and we've been structuring these plans in our CNAs like this since we've been doing these.
okay. So Jason, talk to me about the on the ground, what are we looking at?
Well, basically, so this is really used as a tool more so for CHFA to determine funding guidance, right? Basically to prioritize where their funds need to go, how much you'll need this, how much this deal, so to speak, this development needs compared to others, etc. So he's basically saying that in order for a development to meet the requirements of CHFA to kind of get funded, is that they're going to have to somebody's going to come up with $7.675 million. And that could be a variety of things, grant, loan. I know initially when this was done, I think the last time was 5 years ago, or more than that now. We'll just say, I'll just throw a number out there, like 8 years ago. I don't remember how long it was at this point. Part of that would have been, hey, can we get tax credits? So it basically starts the conversation of what sorts of sources can we get? And that's the target number, 7.65. That's about all you're going to get from that information.
So that's putting CHAFA on notice that we may need to borrow, or we may need grants of $7.65 million.
Yeah, like basically it starts that conversation. Yeah, it is typically part of a proposal to redevelop. This is one of the initial kind of steps. You're using it for different means because you're doing it internally for yourself, but it's also gonna be able to be, assuming it's not too old by the time it's ever presented to CHFA, be used as that sort of tool. And maybe Matt can weigh in a little bit on that too, because I'm sure he's somewhat familiar with that. But really that's why they give this guidance.
Okay, and when do we approach CHFA?
Well, you need a more defined plan, right? A developer, some kind of development consultant that's going to kind of start the process. As you know, with, getting architects, putting a plan together. I mean, this would be obviously pretty preliminary, but if it's something that you think is needed, then you're going to have to start looking for somebody to engage with to do this, like
Okay,
a new Bruce, in
That,
essence,
that puts a plan together and then we go to the state.
and present it to the state,
Okay.
correct?
Does the state already have this?
I don't believe so.
Who gives it to them and when?
It
Go
would,
ahead.
okay. Since you're the one that requested this, I'm sure Matt had no plans to give it to the state. He wouldn't. It's done for your behalf, right? And then eventually, like, you're not required to give this to CHFA. They have their own requirements that they have one on file. But they don't necessarily require that you give it to them. I suppose you can provide it to them. But it more would be put in as part of a more development oriented plan, not just here's our CNA, please help. I don't know if that necessarily gets you anywhere.
Yeah, a lot of our clients, when they need funding, the budgets are kind of tight, and they're seeking guidance. When they go to CHFA, this is typically a document that CHFA would request, the CNA tool, and it would sort of validate the numbers, right? Okay, this property does need an infusion of capital. It needs, maybe contributions need to be modified, so on and so forth. So this is sort of one of the stepping stones towards getting full funding from CHFA to cover these projected needs.
Okay.
I guess I can't play with those numbers. Matt, it's Matt, right?
Yep.
Okay. I assume you just try to zero out by year 20 when you're putting the outside capital number.
So we try to get between 1,000 and 2,000 a unit.
Ending number?
Ending number, yeah.
Gotcha.
We haven't really received any guidance on that, but that's typically what we try to do.
Yeah.
Or if the starting balance is in the hundreds of thousands, we try to end in the hundreds of thousands.
Understood. Just FYI, to the board, you are pretty much closer, especially with new rents. Laurel, that the budget now is closer to 150,000 as your annual contribution, and just for numbers' sake, that changes your contribution down to about 6 million. Now, granted, that doesn't change the need. I'm just trying to give you for example, how much your contribution is affecting that infusion of capital need. But even at that high 150,000, and that would leave you with about, basically your full reserve left afterwards, you'd still need 6 million. So that despite that, it's going to be a minimum, right? We're talking 7.5, like he's saying, pretty easily. So.
Okay, and our in-kind contributions are also counted towards. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that was my point. Even if you doubled your in-kind contributions, you're still going to need 6 million. And I don't know that you could expect to more than double it. $150,000 a year on what you guys bring in would be pretty good, and it is good. It's very, um, I'll say good steward of your money, or I'm trying to figure out how to word that. I don't know that you can expect much more. That's 15% of your rents. So, you know,
Okay.
it's pretty reasonable.
So Matthew, am I right that you're not, in your review, you weren't identifying emergency situations as much as just you were going to let us use this data to come up with our own priorities?
No, if there's something that we felt was emergency or a health and safety issue, it would have been discussed in the report.
Okay,
Um, you know, hazards, suspected mold staining. There was some areas of water ponding that could become, you know, an ice rink if not taken care of. So we do a pretty thorough evaluation and make sure that we capture health and safety issues for sure. I think there was a unit that had termite damage, but that's all been rectified and taken care of, and that wasn't something systemic throughout the development, but something to be mindful of in terms of preventative maintenance going forward.
okay. You do a lot of other, this is a pretty subjective, I guess, question I'm going to ask you, but how did Trumbull Housing Authority's review stack up to other housing authorities that you have looked at? Are many of them our age? Are they older? Are they younger? Are they, I mean, you know,
To be honest with you, we don't really do a lot of reviews, but I appreciate the thoroughness and the feedback, and I think it creates a better product in the end, a more useful tool. And you know, you guys are obviously stakeholders in this project, right? And so I think I appreciate the feedback, but we really don't do a lot of meetings with CNA reviews.
okay,
And again, and that just goes down to the point where, you know, they need our tool, they need to get funding. It's one step along the way, and then they submit it to Chaffa, and that's what they make out of it. So
we were actually able to identify lots of money towards our goal at the congregate that we, you know, over the years, we hadn't really identified. And when the group met, you know, Paulette, Jackie, and the maintenance guys were able to say, oh no, we did that. We took care of that ourselves. So, you know, it was like, oh, cha-ching, cha-ching. You know, we're much further along
yeah,
on a lot of this stuff than we realized we were. So it was kind of a laborious thing to go through, but I think in the long run, kind of helped our financial situation a little bit more.
we're assuming you're hiring a contractor, insured, coming out here to do the full-blown work. We're not assuming highly skilled maintenance staff that can take care of this stuff in-house, which, as you said, would definitely help on the bottom line.
Yeah, I think some of it, but not, some of it looks like it's like a massive redo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Matt's kind of hit it. Really, this is typically the first step in the tool to justify funding to redevelop, because people just want to go in and they're hoping to kind of get funding from the state. The freer, the better, right? And they need this tool to justify that place at the table. You're using it for other means. I mean, it's still going to be part of it. It still can be part of that, right? You're just taking it one step further. Which honestly, nobody ever does, just to be completely honest with you, because the first part of that is the portfolio is really not designed to be able to do this all on your own, right? And the state recognized this about 10 years ago when all these were failing, and then governor kind of came out and gave money to everyone, right? And they started this process. Because again, you know, it doesn't have debt, you know, it's kind of just for years survived on its own of everything being aging, et cetera. And then that just doesn't work. It's not reality. So it's a good thing, and I think, and I just have one question on the side. I don't mean to take over this part of it. It looks like you didn't identify any emergency type items, which I would say is a good thing. The deferred is just what?
Those are accessibility modifications, improvements. And then there's a whole section on that. And anything that's in the deferred column is likely related to accessibility.
Okay.
Okay. Sarah, did you have anything else?
No, I have more of the questions at the beginning. I need to go through the detail a little more, but it makes more sense than it did at the start.
For me too.
And Laura, going back to your previous comment, I totally understand. You saw the age of 52, totally assumed that that was all phase one units. The 52 should actually be 41 to 52, which would capture all of the units. And being a 41-year-old tub, that's still exceeding the useful life, the industry standard. So that's actually my error. And to be more concise, it should be 41 to 52. And that would
Okay.
have
It just makes more sense now, but when we're
Yeah.
just eyeballing it, we're looking at it going, wait a minute. It looks
Yep.
like it's just all the 1972 units.
But if you look into that cell, you'll see the mathematical computation I made out. So 93 times whatever it was, 7750.
Yeah,
It's understandable that's 93 units at 7750 a cabinet or a tub.
okay. All right. Well, thank you. I don't have any more questions, Kathy. I don't know if anybody else does. Staff have any questions?
Someone was wagging their finger. Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was a signal.
Okay. Well, Matthew, thank you very much for your explanations. We were quite confused looking at the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And really just kind of wanted to know your methodology so we could and you've explained it, so thank you.
Yeah, if there's any clarity you need on an item, I'm very accessible. Just shoot me an email. I have the photos, the database on my computer. I could easily look it up and detail exactly where that component is if it's not detailed in the study.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay, great.
thank you. Kathy, may I make a motion to adjourn?
You may.
So moved.
I'll second.
There a second, all in favor, that just leaves me.
All
All right. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate
Thank
you
you. Take
coming
care.
on and